Hello and welcome back to Notes from School, the podcast. This is episode 20. We've hit the 20 milestone. Thank you so much for coming back and joining me for today's episode. I really hope you've been enjoying all these episodes over the past few weeks. I've dived a little bit more into kind of specific topics, maybe historical topics. We've had a deep dive into Jerusalem, I Vow to Thee My Country, and last week I even talked about Tolkien and Lord of the Rings. So I hope you enjoyed some of those episodes. And I thought, as it is the 20th episode today, it's a bit of a milestone. So I thought I'd do a little, maybe a slightly shorter episode, one that is a bit of a catch-up, a bit of a Q&A, and also we're going to do some songs. So I hope you're all sat up straight and ready to sing nice and loud, and whoever sings the best will win a Kit Kat. It might not travel so well, but welcome back to the Assembly Hall, and if this is your first ever time listening to this podcast, then thank you for choosing this one. Let me know how you found it. In this kind of series, I have been talking about music and music education and nostalgic school songs, and we've got a lot of song requests in today's episode. So every week I put timestamps so that if you want to go to a specific question, then you can do. And also, today's going to be a real test for this microphone because there are some very loud roadworks happening directly outside my flat. So anyway, welcome back. This is episode 20, and we have just had half term. So if you are a teacher, or maybe if you are a parent of kids, then hopefully you had a nice relatively relaxing half term. Let me know what you got up to. I had quite a chilled one. I went to a few gigs. I did a solo gig. I've spoken before about doing solo gigs. I went to see a band called The Starting Line, who Taylor Swift loves as well. A lyric in her Black Dog song of the most recent album talks about that band, and so I went to that on my own, and there is something quite nice about going to gigs on your own, and I've always loved it when people have come up to me after one of my shows and said how much they've enjoyed watching the show on their own, and it's been a welcoming atmosphere and all that kind of stuff. So I saw them, and then I had another kind of nostalgic evening with my brother down in Brighton seeing a band called New Found Glory. By the way, I do have my piano here today, so we're going to be doing a bit of singing later on. And I did a lot of singing at a festival, the first festival of the festival season on Sunday at a place called Brockwell Park in South London. I went to Cross the Tracks, which was a lot of fun. If you're into your jazz and funk and all of that kind of stuff, it was great. And talking of festivals, as of just now, I'm recording this on Tuesday the 3rd of June. Glastonbury Festival, the full lineup has been announced, which is very exciting. And on the lineup, there are about 4 or 5 special guest slots which have not been announced who they are. Not all of them are primary school bangers, I'm afraid to say, on the main stage, although that would be a lot of fun. There's a band called Patchwork on the Pyramid stage, and there's already been a lot of speculation as to who that's going to be. I've heard rumours about Mumford & Sons. Someone said Ed Sheeran, but then they checked and Ed Sheeran's actually in Germany that day. So there's a lot of sleuthing happening right now. I think BBC News reported Lady Gaga or Pulp. So all sorts of names are going out there for these secret slots. Lewis Capaldi, I think. And someone even said Robbie Williams. So who knows? It'd be fun if it was Robbie. Have an hour-long slot on the Pyramid stage. You never know who's going to turn up. But I have also announced my times at Glastonbury. So if you're listening to this and you are going to Glastonbury, I hope you're going to wear your school uniform and you're going to be sat down the front, cross-legged and singing along. But I am going to be performing again on the same stage that I was on last year, a stage which has been renamed the Summer House Stage. When I put out a shout out on my social media for this episode, I asked if anyone had any questions. And I had quite a lot of people asking me where I was playing at Glastonbury and on what stage. So just to confirm that, I'm going to be on this Summer House stage on the Thursday at 2:20, on the Friday at 2:40, on the Saturday at 3:45, and also on the Sunday at 3:10. And there's another stage I'm going to perform on called the Sensation Seekers, and that's on the Friday at 5:10. I'm going to do one charity gig in a backstage bar and potentially a secret set on a small late night stage. So as I said, if you are going to Glastonbury and you are listening to this, then hopefully you can come along to one of my sets and join in. It's going to be a lot of fun. I actually wonder this year whether there will be anyone turning up in school uniform. I think that would be great. Maybe I should bring prizes. I can't wait for Glastonbury. I do have some other festival gigs. In my Q&A section, I did also have a few people asking where my next gigs were. So I am going to be in Birmingham on the 10th of June. But that is sold out, I'm afraid. Cardiff Pride on the 21st of June. I think I'm playing the main stage at Cardiff Pride, which is quite exciting. And I'm going to attempt to sing Calon Lan at Cardiff Pride. So I hope I don't get booed off stage by attempting my Welsh. But I think it'll go down well. But then the next kind of public gigs are actually kind of like a Glastonbury warm-up in London, in West London, at the Tabard Theatre in Chiswick. So if you live in London or nearby and want to come along, then you're more than welcome. It is going to be an hour long, each set. I'm doing 2 on Sunday afternoon. So no excuse. Whatever you're doing, come along to the Tabard Theatre. I think it's like 15 quid or something, so it's not too expensive. It's the price of 2 pints. Or probably less than that, to be honest. And also, if you are west or southwest, I've just announced today a new show in Corsham at the Pound Arts Centre on the 25th of July as well. So I just want to say also thank you so much to anyone that listened to the Lord of the Rings episode last week and enjoyed it. I actually posted a clip of me talking, well, kind of a very small summary of the video of the podcast episode onto my Instagram, and it was a slow burner. I put it up and it got a few hundred views in I don't know, like in an evening. So it wasn't a huge amount of views, and then by the end of the week it got 100,000 views, which was really cool, and lots of comments on that. But one message I had, which was very nice to hear, was from my older brother Tom Partridge, who I don't see very much anymore because he lives in Tokyo and he's got a little boy called Joe, and he is a big fan of Tolkien as well, and it was Tom and I that read The Lord of the Rings by my dad, but not just that, we also listened to it. So he messaged me to say, really enjoyed the podcast, James. Maybe it's because I listened to the cassette tapes of the BBC radio adaptation of Lord of the Rings on repeat for years, but I could still recite many of those songs line by line. Stephen Oliver's arrangements were so good. His arrangement of Sam's song to Frodo always had a touch of the Anglican hymn about it. That's really interesting. And on my Instagram reel, a lot of people actually commented saying that it really reminded them of hymns. So I don't know whether that's just the way that I played the songs, or maybe I'm so used to playing hymns and assembly bangers that they've ended up sounding quite hymn-like. But I had some really interesting comments. So on the YouTube version of last week's podcast, I had a couple of quite interesting comments. So I had a comment from @CandleWartStroud1318 who said, "I'm old enough to have seen Donald Swan perform this cycle at the Belgrade Theatre, Coventry in late 1960s or perhaps early 70s. Wow. Tolkien actually would have still been alive at that time because it was just after this was written. So who knows? Maybe Tolkien was also there in the audience with you. And Nordli Selska commented saying, nice to see someone else talking about those songs. I discovered them back in the 80s when I was a teenager and a huge Tolkien fan. Obviously, this was long before the films, and growing up in Germany, I didn't know the BBC radio play either. So until I found Swan's songs, I had to create my own sound world for Lord of the Rings, composing melodies to some of the poems. The book was a great discovery, and I keep coming back to these songs. I love the idea of just coming up with your own versions of these songs as well. That's really fantastic. I think we should do that more often. If you're reading a bit of Shakespeare and you get to one of the songs in Shakespeare, you should just sit down and sing Hey Nonny No or something. But I did get a correction, or a slight correction from Nordli Selska. So, correction section. Haven't done a correction section for a while. They said, a little nerdy fact. It's not really a correction. I think it's more of just a bit of a interesting fact here. Namarie, which was one of the movements from the Road Goes Ever On and On. Namarie is in Quenya, or High Elven, as you said, but an Elbereth Githonial, the song Bilbo hears outside the door in I Sit Beside the Fire, is in Sindarin, a different Elvish language. About Quenya, Tolkien writes in the appendices to The Lord of the Rings, it was no longer a birth tongue, but it had become, as it were, an elven Latin, still used for ceremony and for high matters of law and song by the high elves, fitting for a ceremonial farewell song, sung by a high elven queen. Very interesting. Instagram, as I said, there are a lot of people comparing these Tolkien songs, the Donald Swann songs, to hymns, and yeah, I don't know if it could just be the way I played it, but a lot of people did also say, I just really like the Howard Shore Lord of the Rings soundtrack. I much prefer that. I did have a couple of interesting comments. So Caitlin Downey Voice said, I have a Donald Swann original penned to my grandmother, lovely composer. Irene Licious said, you've seen Lord of the Rings, ... Now it's time for Lord of the Rings, the musical. There actually, ironically, is a Lord of the Rings the musical. It was on the West End about 20 years ago, 15 years ago, something like that. Robert _ Dark Lord Vampire, great name on Instagram, says, this sounds like it was composed to imitate old English folk songs. And this was a comment on the Instagram reel, so I didn't go as much into detail in that reel, but yeah, they pretty much are. A lot of them are either imitating old English folk songs, or maybe the way that the English folk songs have been collected by composers like Vaughan Williams. Or there was the Namarie that I just mentioned, which is sung to a kind of Gregorian chant style. But anyway, moving on from Lord of the Rings, I had another very nice message from someone called Sue Strangeway. So shout out to Sue. She said, hi, I love the YouTube songs for anxious adults. Please, please, please do another one. I worked with children all my life and love the assembly songs. I am 70 years old, but still remember what we sang in the 60s in assembly. Please say hi to me on your next podcast. Hello, Sue. And have tickets to see you at Christmas in Leeds. Thank you for all you do. And what an encouragement you are. Sue Strangeway, East Yorkshire. Well, thank you so much, Sue, for the lovely message. And I'm so glad to know that even if you are 70 or if you're 17, whatever age you are, you still remember the songs you sang in school assembly. And I can't wait for the gig in Leeds. I talked about that venue in the episode I did with Tom Carradine, where we talked about the amazing music hall venue, City Varieties, where I'm going to be playing. I really can't wait to see that venue and come back to Leeds as well. I don't think I've been into Radio Leeds. I've done Leeds the Wardrobe, but I don't think I've actually been into the City Varieties before, so I'm really excited to see it. And in Sue's message, she mentioned the YouTube video, Songs for Anxious Adults. So if you don't know what I'm talking about, I put out a video on YouTube called Songs for Anxious Adults, and I also put the audio on Spotify. And essentially, I played kind of relaxing, I think about 45 minutes, relaxing versions of all the school assembly classics. And I'm really glad that you like that, because music helps me as well. I've kind of had anxiety and mental health issues in the past, and music has been the biggest help for me with any of those in any of those times. So I'm glad to hear that recording helped you as well. So okay, so now onto the Q&A section. I have got a question from Kimberly Alsop on Facebook. She has asked, question, since I've seen you on tour and you have your own tuck shop stash, do Panda Pops taste as good as they used to? Are you filled with gas and E-numbers, or have they made them woke now? I would absolutely love to try one nowadays and see if my taste buds are awakened. So, this is a very important question. Kimberly has asked, are Panda Pops woke? That is an extremely important question, which I need to say the answer is no. Panda Pops are not woke because Panda Pops have been, very sadly, discontinued. They were so bad for children that they were not allowed to be sold anymore. And that's probably why we're all, anxiety-riddled adults now, drinking these ridiculous chemicals growing up. But Panda Pops were discontinued. So what you saw I had on stage was not actually called a Panda Pop. It was called a I don't know. I can't even remember what it was called. It was like a pop sugar drink or something. But it was a new fake Panda Pop version. I did try a bit. I've got to say, it did also taste pretty bad. I had the bubblegum flavour one. But I tell you what hasn't changed or got worse was the Space Raiders. The pickled onion Space Raiders, they're still as good. Kimberly does actually say in the question that you have your own tuck shop stash, which, to be fair, I kind of don't really. I ran out of the Panda Pops and then I just didn't order any more. So the show got so long that I just had to cut the last bit of the show where I gave out Panda Pops and the Space Raiders. But thanks for asking. It's a very important and worthwhile question to ask. Are Panda Pops woke? But I feel like it should travel with a whole like school like tuck shop in the back of the van, in the back of my car. It sounds a bit dodgy. I've got a tuck shop in the back of the van. If I did have a tuck shop in the back of the car, you would need to let me know which sweets I would have to buy. Do I have flying saucers? Do I have fried eggs or shrimp? You got to let me know. What sweets I need to sell. Okay, next message was from Marina, the medic. She asked, how's the book project getting along? And will we get further teasers via socials? Now, the book project that Marina is referring to is a children's book that I've been writing called Dahlia Jones and the Magic Piano. And the first book is written. It has been sent off to the publishers. They are getting an illustrator to draw up a load of pictures. I have actually been sent through the first round of illustrations, so I can't wait for it to go out and for people to see it. It is coming out probably towards the end of 2025, and it's hopefully going to end up being a whole series of books, the Dahlia and the Magic Piano series of books. So hopefully we'll get there. And the final question I had from Jackie on Instagram was asking, what is your favorite venue that you've played on tour? Now, I can't answer that question without upsetting other people, so I've got to say I like them all. I enjoyed every venue I've played. The most probably impressive venue in a way that I've played was probably Birmingham Town Hall, where I performed a big Christmas assembly at the end of 2024, and of course, Darlington Hippodrome was also fantastic in terms of the size. I'm going back to both of those venues this Christmas for the 2025 Big Christmas Assembly Tour. Get your tickets now. I know it's June, but got to plan ahead. You don't want it to sell out. But Birmingham Town Hall was, it's fantastic. Fantastic venue, and beautiful columns, and I felt like I was in an old Greek temple or something like that. So there we go, just a few questions in the Q&A today, and I was also asked quite a few questions about when my next gigs are and about Glastonbury, so hopefully I've covered all the bases. Okay, it's now time for the Mega Request Special. I haven't done this in a little while, actually, so the last few episodes we've had a Jerusalem sing-along, I've Out to Thee My Country, and we haven't, last episode was about the Lord of the Rings, so it wasn't really possible to have a sing-along. But I've got some fantastic requests coming up, and 2 people requested this next tune. The first tune that we're going to do today is called Oh Jesus, I Have Promised. So Vanessa Toynbee and Vicky Griffin on Facebook both asked for this one. So we're going to kick it off with that. And then we're going to go on to a Come and Praise classic, Water of Life. Kaya Shaw's What also requested that, followed by You Raise Me Up, requested by David Barber, and a little extra children's song for Emma Gaylard. So that's the first section, and then we'll get back into the next request. So to kick it off, this Mega Request Special, this is Oh Jesus, I Have Promised. I hope you're sitting up straight and singing along. That's your first note. 1, 2, 3. Oh Jesus, I have promised to serve thee to the end. Be thou forever near me, my master and my friend. I shall not fear the battle if thou art by my side, nor wander from the pathway if thou wilt be
my guide.
Oh Jesus, I have promised. Hope you enjoyed that. That's a very late Victorian hymn. Some good chords in there. I feel like it's a bit of a marching one as well. So there we go. Jesus, I have promised. We're going to stay in the same key for this next one. It's number 2 in Come and Praise, and it's called Water of Life. Very fitting today. It's pouring with rain as well.
Have you heard the raindrops drumming on the rooftops? Have you heard the raindrops dripping on the ground? Have you heard the raindrops splashing in the streams and running to the rivers all around? There's water, water of life. Jesus gives us the water of life. There's water, water of life. Jesus gives us the water of life.
One more verse.
Nobody can live who hasn't any water. When the land is dry, then nothing much grows. Jesus gives us life if we drink the living water. Sing it so that everybody knows. It's water, water of life. Jesus gives us the water of life. There's water, water of life. Jesus gives us the water of life.
There we go. It's a fantastic song. Number 2 in Come and Praise. I do sing a little bit of that in my school assembly show. And also, if you haven't seen the show and you didn't realise, that song sounds exactly like this.
It's Rupert, Rupert the bear. Everyone knows his name.
Okay, so going from a Come and Praise classic to one which is called You Raise Me Up for David Barber. When I am down and oh my soul so weary, when troubles come and my heart burdened be, then I am still and wait here in the silence until you come and sit a while with me. You raise me up so I can stand on mountains. You raise me up to walk on stormy seas. I am strong when I am on your shoulders. You raise me up to more than I can be. You Raise Me Up. What a tune. A Westlife classic as well as Josh Groban, of course. And I had an extra one from Emma Gaylord, which was, there was a man who had a dog and bingo was his name. O-B-I-N-G-O, B-I-N-G-O, B-I-N-G-O, and bingo was his name. Bit of a contrast. We're moving on to the second set of requests. I'm just going to read through who these are for. So, the next one, we're going to stay in Come and Praise, actually, with a Sydney Carter tune, which isn't as well known as Lord of the Dance or One More Step Along the World I Go, called The Bell of Creation. And then Nell on Instagram has asked for Matchstalk Men and Matchstalk Cats and Dogs. She says, always sung loudly at my primary school. Alice Sophia 921 has asked for He Who Would Valiant Be. It's old, but it's a banger from the 80s. Hannah Colt has asked for This Is an Important Matter, the school rule song, which is a more modern day school assembly banger by the Out of the Ark crew, by Mark and Helen Johnson. And finally, we have Football Crazy by Alison Watson-Smith. I did actually have a bonus request of someone asked me to play Jimmy World. Apologies, I can't remember who asked it for me. But we've got a lot of songs coming up, so if you know any of these tunes, then feel free to sing along. We're going to kick it off with a Sydney Carter tune called The Bell of Creation.
The bell of creation is swinging forever in all of the things that are coming to be. The bell of creation is swinging forever, and all of the while it is swinging for me. Swing bell over the land, swing bell under the sea. The bell of creation creation is swinging forever, and all of the while it is swinging in me.
That's a great tune, The Bell of Creation. Thank you for that request. Now we're on to one called Matchstalk Men. This is all about Lowry's painting of the Manchester factories and all the people outside. I think some of them are playing football, perhaps. Sing along if you know this one. It goes,
he painted Salford smoky tops on cardboard boxes from the shops, parts of Ancoats where I used to play. I'm sure he once walked down our street, 'cause he painted kids who had knout on their feet. The clothes they wore had all seen better days.
Here's verse 2.
Now they said his works of art were dull. The room, old lad, the walls are full. But Lowry didn't care much anyway. They said he just paints cats and dogs and matchstalk men in boots and clogs. And Lowry said that's just the way they'll stay. And he painted matchstalk men and matchstalk cats and dogs. He painted kids on the corner of the street that were sparking clogs. Now he takes his brush and he waits outside them factory gates to paint his matchstalk men and matchstalk cats and dogs.
Let's do the chorus again.
And he painted matchstalk men and matchstalk cats and dogs. He painted kids on the corner of the street that were sparking clogs. Now he takes his brush and he waits outside them factory gates to paint his matchstalk men and matchstalk cats and dogs.
I think that's a folk tune from the early 70s. And we go straight on to the next hymn, bit of an Edwardian classic called He Who Would Valiant Be. Let me know if you sang this one at school.
He who would valiant be against all disaster, let him in constancy follow the Master. There's no discouragement shall make him once relent his first avowed intent to be a pilgrim.
Good tune. Now, let's put the tune down a bit. This is a very important matter. This is a school rules song. I put out a TikTok video a while ago with me singing this song, and it creeped a lot of people out. It feels like something from Oliver Twist.
This is an important matter, how we should behave at school. We will get along when we obey the rules. Put your hand up, don't call out. Sit up straight and please don't shout. We're learning. Please stop talking all the time. Don't go pushing in the line. We're learning.
Here's the chorus.
This is an important matter, how we should behave at school. We will get along much better when we can obey the rules.
There we go. That's a newer tune. Just got 2 more to go. This one's called Football Crazy. And I knew this song from an advert about Power Pods. And it goes,
I have a favourite brother and his name is...
I knew this song from an advert in the 90s which was advertising a little toy called Power Pods. So this is Football Crazy.
I have a favourite brother and his Christian name is Paul. He's lately joined a football club and he's mad about football. He's 2 black eyes already and his teeth lost from his gob since Paul became a member of that terrible football club. For he's football crazy, he's chocolate mad.
That's the version I knew, but this one goes,
for he's football crazy, he's football mad. The football, it has taken away the little bit of sense he had, and it would take a dozen servants to wash his clothes and scrub since Paul became a member of that terrible football club.
There we go. That is the version that I knew. So we're on to the final song request of today's episode, today's assembly. This is not a school assembly song or anything to do with school. It's slightly nostalgic, I suppose, but someone requested I sing a song by Jimmy Eat World. And at the beginning of this episode, I mentioned a couple of the gigs I went to last week, and I'm just going to sing you a little bit of this. It is from a band from Phoenix, Arizona, called Jimmy Eat World. I'll just sing you a little bit of this one. It's called The Middle. It goes like this.
Hey, don't write yourself off yet. It's only in your head you feel left out or looked down on. Just try your best, try everything you can. Don't you worry what they tell themselves when you're away. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright. It just takes some time, little girl, you're in the middle of the ride. Everything will be just fine. Everything will be alright.
And what a way to finish a little request section of today's episode. I hope you've enjoyed today's 20th episode of Notes from School, and it's been a catch-up, it's been a sing-along, we've had some questions, and next week we are going to be diving into the world of nursery rhymes, but it might not be quite what you expect. Earlier on, someone asked me about the book that I was working on, and it's for a company called Sweet Cherry Publishing, and it is an original kind of children's fantasy novel, or a series of children's fantasy books. And that same company, they produce all sorts of books for all ages, and one of the books I helped out with was a compilation of nursery rhyme books for children, and I made little backing tracks that you can scan if you on the QR code on the back of the book. But there is a slightly darker side to nursery rhymes that you might not know about. So next week I'm going to dive into some of those, and the week after I think we might have another guest in the assembly hall. So I hope to see you again for another episode of Notes from School. It's every Wednesday. We might have a summer break from the episodes, but we'll see. Maybe we'll keep on going. But thank you again for listening and for joining in if you sang along to any of those songs, and I'll see you next week for another episode of Notes from School. Keep on smiling, keep on singing, and class dismissed.